Okay, so we'll get this show on the road away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. So first of all, I'd like to welcome you all here to Fermoy this evening on this dirty, damp, wet winter's evening. For those who don't know me, my name is Peter O'Donoghue, and I, along with Dirmuid O'Kyle, we helped to organise this meeting here this evening. Unfortunately, we're out here in the rain this evening. We tried every avenue we could to have this meeting indoors, but the situation at this moment in time in our town of Fermoy is there's certain issues and topics that you're not allowed to talk about in this country and in our own local town, and I suppose this just shows where we are in this country at this moment in time regards freedom of speech, freedom of debate and democracy. We always need to be able to debate issues, all issues, even issues so delicate and so fragile as immigration. We did approach a number of venues here in the town, and the business owners and owners of the establishments were in agreement with the necessity of having this meeting, but they were afraid of the repercussions for their own businesses if the meeting was to take place in their establishment. So, in my opinion, that just shows the situation we're in at the moment. It's very dangerous times and very undemocratic times, and I just like to thank each and every one of you for coming out here tonight for this exercise in democracy. It's hugely important that you're all here. So the meeting here this evening, we're encouraging debate. We're going to encourage discussion, because that's what I feel has been lacking here in this country with the last number of months and even years, and not alone this issue but many issues. And I suppose what inspired me to try and organise this meeting here this evening was the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when the Rural Independent Group led by Mattie McGrath here TD, when he and his group tried to organise a debate and a motion in the Dáil on immigration. They were shot down. There was no debate happened in the Dáil that day. That was December 6th, Wednesday week ago. There was no debate in the Dáil that day. There was none of the government backbenchers showed up. None of the so-called opposition parties backbenchers showed up. A handful of TDs who I would call maybe on the extreme side just hurled abuse at the rural TDs for even thinking of having a debate on an issue so important. And if we cannot have a debate on an issue in Dáil Éireann, where can we have a debate? We're in serious, dangerous territory, in my opinion. So that's why we're here this evening. Fundamentally, the problem in this country is we haven't had debate now on a lot of issues over the last number of years. People have been cancelled, there's been name calling, there's been abuse hurled at people, there's been labels hurled at people, and we haven't had a mature debate now in a long time. So this evening here in Fermoy, we're going to have a mature debate on the issue of immigration. And there'll be no labelling, there'll be no name calling, there'll be no insulting anyone. I would ask each and every one of you to respect the speakers who speak here this evening. You might not agree with them, but respect them and don't be disrupting them, and you will get your chance afterwards to give your piece and to have your opinion on the issue. So that's it. And there's going to be a few rules. I've created a few rules here myself this evening. So we're going to keep, rule number 1 will keep on topic, and that's immigration and democracy. Number 2, no labelling, cancelling or name calling. Number 3, no discriminatory, racist or hateful language. Number 4, no signalling out of any individual race, religion, ethnicity or nationality. We keep this debate to immigration in general. And number 5, we have a proper, mature meeting showing respect to all speakers. So, now as I said, I thank you all for coming here this evening, welcome you all here this evening, but most of all I welcome our 3 elected political representatives here, Councillor William O Leary, Councillor Frank Roche and TD Mattie McGrath of the Rural Independent Group. And thank you so much guys for coming here this evening. And with no further ado, I would like to invite, who do you want to go, Frank first or William? Yeah, so I'll invite Councillor William O Leary up here to say a few words.
I'm a small man, I hope you can see me. I suppose first and foremost, over the last few weeks, I was very proud to sit with good people up there in outside Abbeyville House. I stood out there 4 weeks ago and I said I would stand with you no matter what, and to me that's my word, and my word is my band. These are yeah, sorry, I put it up closer to the mouth, sorry. These are some of the finest people inside in Fermoy, who care deeply about their community, about their family, about their friends and about their town, and we're going down a very dangerous path in this country when your views are different, or they might differ to that of the establishment, and you're branded far right. I can assure anyone that's watching tonight or listening tonight that these are no far right activists up there. They're some of the most genuine, decent people I've met, and they can be very proud of themselves for sitting out there over the last over the last 4 weeks nearly now at this stage. Well done. Yeah. I suppose on topic, my views on the overall migration and immigration into the country, it's not sustainable at its current levels. The last 12 months have been sheer madness, and I suppose the worrying thing is, and what concerns me, is there's been a failure by those in government to acknowledge that there is an issue here, and believe me, there is. I'm not even going to give people or speak about there's no one here racist or that way minded. There's absolutely not. We know that. We don't need to keep explaining that, so we're not going to keep doing that. Sorry, Mike, gone too close there. Yeah. Sorry. Apologies. I suppose we're going to hear the same jargon because it's a hot topic at the moment about that we're bound to the EU. We are to a certain extent, but we're not completely bound to them. We see member states in the European Union that have tough stances and controlled migration into their countries. We see Poland, for example. We've seen what Finland have done in the last few weeks. The main point I want to try and get forward here is, like, if it keeps going the way it is going, it's not going to be sustainable, and we're not at a sustainable level at the moment. I suppose plenty will call me a hypocrite for standing up here as being member of a government party. I can assure you, I'm on the food chain. I'm the bottom of the barrel there. My view, I don't stand here speaking for them tonight. I'm speaking here as William O Leary, and these are my views. Yeah, thank you. Tis emotional in one sense, because I can see, sticking on topic to Fermoy particularly, I can see the concern, the fear on people's faces, I really can, Look, what I can say is I'll continue to do what I can for you. I will continue to stand by you. But it's worrying that A, they're not acknowledging what's going on, how divisive this is in communities, and it is divisive, B, their refusal to debate the issues, and we saw that last week above in Dáil Éireann with regard to the Rural Independent motion and the lack of turnout there. And we're in a position where we have to stand out in the rain for Fermoy to have an open debate about this. We shouldn't have to do this. We shouldn't have to do this, and it's a shocking indictment of what's going on in Dublin that we do have to do it, but we are where we are. I suppose, look, in one sense, like, we all know, yes, it is, and I'm going to finish on this, it is state-sponsored in terms of allocating accommodation to international protection applicants. But by God, and I have no problem saying this here tonight, the carry-on of people around this country who are buying these buildings and warehousing people into them, I can assure you, the people blowing Tralee and above in Leak Slip and even in Shanballymore can go around playing the big hard men, talking about the big bucks they're making, but they would want to realise the damage they're doing to these towns. They're worse than the English landlords of decades ago. They're worse than any. Their behaviour is as bad as any drug cartel. You know, we've seen the carry on of some of these people here over the last few months. You know, across the country, but particularly here in Fermoy. Shame on them. You know, yes, government has a lot to answer for, but these people are the biggest traitors out of everyone, the way they're selling out communities, and it's easy for them to sit away wherever they are and not give a shite about the people in Fermoy. But by God, they've had their answer over the last month. They have their answer here tonight. Okay? If I go on now, I'll only be rambling, but again, delighted to sit with you up there with the last few weeks and delighted to be here tonight. Fair play to you all.
Thanks very much, William. Huge round of applause there for Councillor William O Leary, everyone. And I have huge respect for any councillor or any elected politician to come out here this evening, because we sent invitations out to every councillor in the Fermoy Municipal District. And I can tell you that the only two councillors who replied to us was Frank and William. None of the rest of the councillors even responded to the email. That's the reality of the situation. We sent out an email to every TD in Cork East. None of them responded. We sent an email to Mick Barry of the Solidarity Party, because we want a broad debate. We want to hear both sides, and unfortunately Mick Barry didn't respond either. So I have huge respect for anybody, and especially any politician, for coming here this evening. So thank you very much, William. So next up, I'd like to invite Councillor Frank Roche. Frank, would you like to say a few words?
I'd like to thank everybody that turned up here tonight, and in particular I'd like to thank Peter for inviting me here tonight and giving me the opportunity to talk. And I think we should all give Mattie McGrath a very special thanks for coming down the long way to come down here. I'd also like to thank my fellow councillor Willie O'Leary. And Willie, I can tell you, is putting his head on the block really, because he's a member of a government party and he has great courage. It's easy for me to come here. I'm elected as an independent member. I can go and do what I like. There's nobody can tell me where to go or what to do. But Willie, in fairness to the man, he's put his own head on the block, and he's willing to do that for the people of Fermoy, and you should be proud of him for doing that. The reason I first came into this I won't call it protest, right? I got elected to Cork County Council in 2019, and when I got elected there was people from my parish and here from Fermoy Town that asked me could I get them houses and homes. I knew their mothers, their fathers, their grandmothers, their grandparents. I knew everybody belonged to them. Those people as late as this week, a lot of them are still homeless, haven't got houses. And I think we should be housing our own local people before anybody else. The second reason I came in was, if any one of the people in this crowd here tonight bought that house in number 1 spec, we couldn't change the colour of the front door. The regulations to change a building like that would be almost impossible. And here we are now destroying and defacing a real Georgian building that's in the town. And the third reason that I came in was, if we decided to hold a fishing competition or a rowing competition or a horse riding competition or anything here in Fermoy, we have no accommodation to bring in people from abroad. We need those 16 rooms, and taking another 16 rooms out of it is going to kill the town of Fermoy. We'll have no force, we'll have nothing on in the future that we can bring people in from abroad or from any other part of the country. They were my 3 main reasons for coming here. Since I came in here, I have made great friends with an awful lot of people in the community. I would have known you to see, but I didn't know anybody's names. Now we're all on first name terms. And what frightens me most of all, every single night that I come in, there's people flowing to sign petitions. We've over 2,000 petitions. There's only 6,000 people in Fermoy, and a third of that we have in names. And I do know that there's probably another third that are afraid to sign it. So if anybody says that the people of Fermoy are for it, why did 2/3 of the people talk to us, ask us, and ring us in private, tell us and support us? So I'm glad that we've so many people here tonight, and I'm proud here. I'm so sorry that we all had to stand out in the rain, but we will stand in the rain, and we will be here, and we're here for the long haul. And whether it's Christmas or New Year's Day or New Year's Eve or whenever, if we are needed here, we will be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank. Huge round of applause there for Frank Roche, everyone. Next up, I'd like to invite Dirmuid O'Kyle of the Glór Alliance. Dirmuid helped me in organising this meeting here this evening, so Bula Boss there for Dirmuid, please.
Good morning, Peter. Friends, I think this evening's meeting puts what's been happening in Ireland for many, many years now into context, in that we have to come together on a rainy, dark evening to discuss what is probably the biggest issue in Ireland today, and that is the immigration policy being pursued and being enforced, rather, by our government. So that we must stand out here to voice our concerns about what should be obvious things. It's just been alluded there. We know people 10, 20 years on housing lists all over Ireland who are in the never land in regards to getting housing. And for years we've been asking government to declare a national emergency on that issue, and they've done nothing. Once, when the Oireachtas did manage to put a vote through, they said it didn't count it wasn't a binding vote. This is the nature of our democracy, that the wishes of the people mean absolutely nothing in Ireland today. And that is the nub of the problem. The Irish people do not decide the policy of our own state. And what's happening here in Abbeyville House, what's happening all over Ireland, what's happening in Cork City and elsewhere, is the very same thing. People count for nothing. Our politics is ruled by a cabal of what I call private member clubs. Groups of vested interests who act for somebody else other than the Irish people. They never consult us, they never take on board our opinions, and when we express it, even like tonight now, very obviously, they just ignore us. They ignore us right to the point until from time to time mass movements do develop which express the people's will, and then they gauge. If one even listens to the dialogue over the last week on the radio or television, you hear various political figures, and it's like as if they're getting a change of mind, that they're somehow siding with the people on this issue, as if their own organisations are not the ones who have taken this policy on board from abroad and forced it on the Irish people. Irish people are not xenophobic. We're not against other peoples. In fact, Irish people stand in a place of honour in front of the peoples of the world because of our struggles for freedom and for democracy, and what we have contributed to other countries in the world where we ourselves have gone. We have always welcomed people to our shore, and we should do that always. But there has to be sense, and there has to be logic in what we are doing, and to pursue a policy of open borders at the behest of the globalist European Union or World Economic Forum, whatever they call these things. There's a whole plethora of such organisations. To pursue this policy of unlimited open borders into a small country the size of Ireland is just lunacy, but it's lunacy beyond the point of lunacy, in that they're wrecking our society, they're destroying the people. During the week, or yesterday possibly, I think it was Micheál Martin responded to this hotel being burned up in Galway, and he said, don't forget, the policy of immigration into Ireland is because people are doing three things. They're fleeing war, they're fleeing human rights abuse, and they're fleeing poverty. Well, how come in the context here tonight, and how come in the context in Galway that he's referring to, how come they're all males? Where are the families fleeing poverty? Where are the women and children whom you think should be the first that we might look after? The point is, they're just making up the excuses to bolster up what they have done. And to think that Ireland can house the entire world is just ridiculous. We have people going now again in the next week. You'll see that if the figures haven't been published already, nearly 4,000 homeless children in Ireland today living in emergency accommodation. Hundreds on the streets of Cork. It's the same in Dublin, all over Ireland. This is an unacceptable imposition. No offence to the individuals involved in coming to these centres I wish them the very best in their lives. But Irish people should stand up for ourselves, and to do so is not the subject of something we should apologise for. If we cannot stand up for ourselves, then we are no good to anybody whatsoever. We should stand up for Ireland. That's what our forefathers laid their lives down when they stood for freedom, when they fought in the War of Independence. When Thomas Kent here, who had been a campaigner against evictions his whole life, this bridge is recently named after him in his honour. Or Liam Lynch, who carried out a raid on foreign troops along here as well in his day. They stood up to have an Ireland that had a border on it, not one that had no border. So I'm not going to go on, because I know the main thing here is people should express themselves. But let's keep this political debate going. Let's have more of it and not less. And let's ensure that the people of Ireland have the say in how our own country is run.
Thank you very much, Dirmuid. Next up, I'd like to invite our neighbour across the other border, the Cork-Tipperary border, Mattie McGrath of the Rural Independent Group. So Mattie, would you like to say a few words?
Peter and Cédal Shees for all my wakes go on the dinner talked much Queen Spear knocked. I thank you all for coming out here tonight, and thank Peter and Dirmuid and indeed Laura and everybody else that helped to organise this. I want to acknowledge the presence and the comments and the passionate speeches of both William O Leary and indeed Councillor William O Leary and Councillor Frank Roche for coming. I also acknowledge the fact that all TDs were invited here in Cork East, and indeed McBarry's always looking for a protest to go to. He was invited as well, but he didn't come tonight to engage with the people here and listen, keep our clution a ruskelt. Look, it's so sad what's happening in Ireland today, and if I could just speak politically, on the business committee, which I sit as leader of our group, we meet once a week to discuss the business of the House, and for the last 8-9 months I've been asking at every business committee meeting for a debate on the migration issue that's been talked about in every bridge, in every workplace, in every taxi, in every home in Ireland. As far as I'm concerned, it is definitely, and indeed no, we couldn't have a debate. There was different reasons every week, and the most recent ones were that we should have a whole of government response and to have to assemble so many ministers. So we had no choice. Well, it wasn't a matter of choice, but we had our own private members' time, which we gladly said we'd support and put down for a 2-hour debate in Dálaon last Wednesday week. And I was quite, there was huge resistance to it, but we got it on the floor, and anybody who watched it, and can still watch it back online, will see that we didn't have a quorum for most of the meeting. Now, I had two choices. When you don't have a quorum, you can call for a quorum, but the sitting would have been abandoned and our motion wouldn't be debated. And possibly that's what the government wanted. So I sat on my hands and didn't call a quorum. The Minister for Justice came in, and Minister Roger O'Gorman and Minister Joe O'Brien of State Joe O'Brien for a small amount of the time. None of the leaders of the parties came in, any of them. And indeed, the speakers that spoke, from the left, it was amazing. I mean, when I look back on it and was asked, we had the hard left, the neoliberal left, defending the government policy, and the government were stuck in their office or hiding wherever they were. And I said, this is a bizarre situation to go back to Charlie Haughey's days with Gobo. Grotesque and unbelievable and bizarre. I never seen it in any parliament. It was a wake-up call for me. When they were, and we had people like Aon O'Reilly, and I could call him something else, but I won't. The chairman said, no name calling tonight, respectful debate. Attacking us as being far rights and all kinds of obscenities in the House, and it was crazy. But look, we forced the debate. But when it came to the vote in on the Wednesday night, because the votes now were held on a Wednesday night, and we called it a vote after the debate, and when it came to the debate, I need 9 people alongside me to stand up to demand a vote. We couldn't, only got 9 people. We couldn't get the 12, like our Lord had 12 apostles. We just couldn't get them. And we were missing one of our own, which I don't know, but the others did, and we got 3 people to stand with us. Michael Fitzmaurice, and indeed Badr Tobin, who was the third? Come to me in a minute. But the rest of them fled. And just, we had no vote then. So they feel then, but they didn't vote against the debate because there was no vote. Another trick that they have of dealing with issues that way. But look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not a racist. I'm not hard right. I told them all when I was a young vocal oak, I used to be going around at 9 or 10 in support, from my mother asked me to do it, and in support of our missionaries that were all over the world. And that's not today or yesterday. And they weren't NGOs with CEOs and deputy directors and directors of everything else. They were ordinary missionaries, priests and nuns and lay people. And I was selling the Africa and the Far East magazines, one on the carrier and one in the basket, of people that wanted to support the missionary book out there. And now I'm totally on the far right, so it's amazing the transformation that people have put over me. But look, I count for my own movements, and that's why I came tonight here to accept the petition collected here by you, which is notable, collected in your little canvas cover down here. You didn't go knocking on doors and asking people and maybe putting people under pressure. You didn't. You asked them to come, and they came and signed it voluntary, and you have another 1,000 of them online. And I take them back and ensure hand them to the Minister for Integration, so-called Roger O'Gorman. And I'll hand them to the Taoiseach and Taoiseach. Hopefully that stage their eyes will be opened and they will listen to the people. Fud na Tíre, right across the country, people have issues like this. Look at we started welcome that people given their homes at the outset of the Ukrainian war and offered 1,000 and thousands of houses or spaces in their homes. The vast majority of them haven't been taken up by the government. Vast majority of them haven't. I have people now who have accommodation ready, lots of places, and they still haven't been occupied, and they're telling us they're putting people in tents from Ukraine. So I don't know what's going on. I honestly believe that the government are trying to stoke a situation of unrest and unease to hide themselves from other problems. We had the Troika here, and we still have not a day go by but I get calls from people traumatised by what the banks and vulture funds are doing to good families, good people. The amount of suicides, the amount of marriage breakups, the amount of ill health, and God knows what else. And Edmund Honan and I are trying to, he's doing the rest of the work, are trying to do a situation regarding much of this repossession of properties, homes, farms and businesses, where the land registry are laggards and the people that have bought on these loans or sold them on the vultures don't own them legally, but a blind eye is turned there too. So it's a real kick in the teeth for Liam O'Leary, God rest him, our patriot, and Tomas McCarthy and all the other people. And the last time I walked this bridge, I stood on this bridge, was the 10th of April, marching the 100th anniversary of the death of Liam Lynch, who lay fatally wounded in the mountainside in my own parish in Newcastle. And the good people that were with him, and the way they fought that Ireland would be free, we could have free to practice our religion, our faith, and our games, and everything else, Irish, our education. But now it's not freedom of education anymore. A horrible doctrine has been pushed in, not wanted by most of the people, but has been pushed in at the behest of all these non-governmental organisations. Do you know how many NGOs are in this country now? And there are a few of them I've noted there, I can thank them, and they're good people. But there's 36,000 of them, costing annually between 5.5 billion and 6 billion. And they're going out there on every radio programme and every medium of the news, telling the story, what we must do, telling us. I had the head of the Refugee Trust of Ireland this morning, lecturing us what we should do. It's time now that they listen to the people. These well-paid officers and people that are in these organisations are getting well paid to change our country, to change what we want. So we now have 2 referenda being offered to us in March, probably before Paddy's Day, if it won't be St. Paddy's Day, and when they're on, of very little relevance to many people that I've met anyway. They want to ask them what are they. I've called for a referendum on immigration 10 months ago, and there was no mention of it. And that's what we should consult the people about the issues that they need. And the fact they're having those 2 referenda on that day, that's where the real question should be asked to the people. Because government are elected by the people, so are the councils, including the lads here. They did away with our town councils. You have no town council in Fermoy now, and they did away with, they amalgamated the county council, so they've really removed power from the people. But it's time that the people took back the power. We want to live beside our people, and I meet them in hospitals, I meet them in all kinds of workplaces, people from all over the world. Good people contributing to this country, and we're not anti-immigrants, but we want a control on our borders. Hungary can do it, Poland can do it, we see the Netherlands are doing it now, And we're seeing many other countries have to do it because we just cannot cope with the absolute numbers that are coming. And look, I won't even go into how all the men are coming, not women and children, but look, we are a welcoming nation. The Cade Míle Fáilte, of course it is. But I believe we must exercise the democracy that Liam O'Leary, Thomas Kent, Michael Collins and all those great leaders fought for and gave their life for, that we would be able to practice our faith and our culture and our heritage and indeed our education and above all a free living for our people here. Pay our taxes, we're paying plenty of it, but have to spend wisely and stop the rape of our country and our place by the NGOs, because they have taken it over and they're trying to subvert and obstruct democracy, and so are the government that obstructed the debate that we brought forward and obstructed made sure we would organise the situation that we couldn't organise a vote. But they're only voting some of the people, their own people. So I say to you people, good people of Fermoy and surrounding areas, you won't be fooled by these people. You'll be humane and welcoming and look after people and integrate them properly, but not this kind of situation with all males coming in to places like that you need those spaces. What about our own 13,000 homeless? What about our own 4,000 children? When I saw the other night with a horror, 3,000 people, almost 3,500, queuing outside the Capital Centre in Dublin for food parcels. And here we are telling the world you can all come in here, you know, with food plenty. We have to look after our own in the first instance, look after as many as we can properly, with dignity, not putting them in a situation like this and having dividing communities. It's wrong. Utterly wrong, and I won't accept it. While I'll be elected, I'll defend it and defend you, and I'm here to answer any questions I can tonight. So Míle Blighe the Lair, our talks.
Thank you very much, Mattie. Next up, I'd like to ask Laura Boyle of the Save Abbeyville House group to say a few words.
Some of you know me, or a lot of you know me, and know I cry very easily, and I've been told I'm weaponizing my tears, but I find this whole situation so sad. And stand back, okay. I always bring it back to kind of the personal level. So that's what you're going to hear from me. We've heard about all the, the political reasons and all the subterfuge that's going on, but I just want to bring it home and close to my heart. First of all, I do want to say something though. Let's get a bit angry first. We have the Avondhu newspaper last week published an article in which the letter that was signed by 5 of our 6 local councillors was mentioned. So we know that 5 of our 6 local councillors support what we're doing in Abbeyville across the road. So why didn't they come tonight? We only have 2 of the 5 who signed. So we know, Kay, Deirdre and Noel, we know that you support us because you signed our letter. So why did you not come? You're already out in the open. Maybe you're there in the crowd hiding somewhere, but we already know that you support us. So what difference did it make to come and stand here? Actually, it would have made a lot of difference to us, because thank you. So we know this is a big problem with, as all the other speakers have alluded to, this fear of, you know who now? Literally the fear is of a tiny minority of people. We had a businessman stop at the tent the other night and he was saying, I'm so behind you, you're braver than me. And I was looking at myself and Tony and I said, you and me, this young man is we're braver than him? How the hell is that happening? And he was saying, all the businesses in town are behind you, and I said, great, where are they? And he said, it's fear. And I said, well, who? We have 75%, we believe, at least of the town behind us. And he said, you have more than that. I am telling you, there's more than that behind you. And I said, so what? The businessmen of the town are afraid of 5% of the population of the town? And they are, because they are the bullies, and the bullies that Mattie alluded to, the bully guys that are roaring and shouting everyone down. So we're all scared of a mere 5% of our community. What the hell, man? All of you here clearly are not, because you wouldn't be here if you were scared. But it is pathetic, frankly, that we are being dominated by 5% perhaps of the population, big, loud, aggressive bullies that are name-calling, denigrating us, damaging our reputations, dividing our families and our community. It is disgusting. It is nauseating, and I just cannot believe this is happening. And I can't believe that we've been forced to sleep in that tent for 4 weeks to stand up for our rights and to have a voice. Finally, we have some national media here. It's taken so bloody long. I want to tell you a little chronological story of what happened in Abbeyville, because that's the big elephant across the road there behind us. The most beautiful, prominent site in the whole gorgeous town of Fermoy, which happens to be 4 doors down where I lived for 20 years and gave birth to my own children in the fucking house. So we are absolutely embedded in this community. It is a historic community, one of amenities, a park, a swimming pool, history, it's steeped in it, and it's also a residential area. There are families with about 28 to 30 children in that square behind you there. This is a beautiful, unique location in the centre of a busy town that is inhabited. A lot of our towns are leaching. People are moving out from the town centres and moving into housing estates. We still have a lovely community here in this town. And when I first saw on the 28th of October a fence going up between those two beautiful houses, I was sick to my teeth at what was going on in there. First of all, the beautiful building was being defaced with this big, ugly, huge barricade. But thank God they did it, because that's what raised our attention and that's what caught my eye. And I said, what the hell is going on here? And I gathered my neighbours and we found out that the refugee centre was being planned for there. Sorry. And I'm glad they made that mistake. And you know that when I spoke to the owner, and I have spoken to the owner, I've spoken to the owner, the far right, not the far left, mind you, they won't talk to me. Everyone else, and I hate to use those terms, everyone in the community I've talked to. Before we had to take it out in the street, I talked to everyone. I was on the phone to the owner. I was on the phone to people from the whole cross-section of Fermoy. And the only people that wouldn't speak to me were the bully 5% that are roaring us all down. We tried to do this diplomatically. We had the councillors in our house, we had cups of tea, we sat around my kitchen table, my neighbours and I, trying to find avenues of communication to the government, trying to find a way of doing this diplomatically, fairly, trying to find some dialogue and solution. We actually knew there wasn't going to be a solution, but we thought we could find a trade-off. And all that failed because nobody knew how to get to who to talk to. You cannot believe the layers of lies, as I forget who alluded to them, and William. Lies, deceit, dishonesty that's going on in this mess. It is disgusting, and the only thing that makes me feel that I'm prepared to stand there all through Christmas is the fact that we may just expose some of this cesspool that's going on. If money-making, racketeering, warehousing human beings, dividing communities, splitting families, all for fat cats to get rich. So we had 2 or 3 meetings. There was 20, 30 people. There was 40, 50 people. One night, I think, dare I say, we had over 100. I won't do a Donald Trump and say we had 10,000, but we did have a lot of people there. And finally, we came to the conclusion no one was listening. The media weren't talking to us. No one was listening. We were having some support, obviously, from Frank and William. We just said we have to start camping out. There's nothing else we can do. And you have to say, what does it take for people? And I wish I could name them all. We have a fantastic group of support, but there's only, unfortunately, in life, very few people who will put their head up above the parapet and risk all kinds of literal bottles and literal insults being thrown at them, spitting, etc. We never resorted to that. We held our heads high for the past 4 weeks. We have manned that tent 24/7, 4 solid weeks as of tonight. And the wonderful thing about it is that it has culminated in this. I mean, we couldn't have asked for much more except that we can stop it happening. But this is the pinnacle of our campaign, if you like. It's been a 7-week campaign. We have 1,000 signatures online, 1,000 signatures at the tent. I will say, myself, Patricia and Catherine walked the town twice, I think, and stopped people just because we were bored, and we just stopped a few people and came back to the tent. So twice we did canvass. That was for about 40 minutes on 2 separate Saturdays. Otherwise, every single signature was of someone who stopped at the tent there, pulled in their car or parked their pram and came and signed. And I think then that probably represents a lot more of the town, because people have to walk physically to the site to sign. So we also have over 1,200 people online on our Save Abbeyville House Facebook group. So the support is enormous, and it's from all over the world. And this is the culmination of it, and this is where I want to give Mattie the signatures to bring up and pass them by hand to the minister or the first person that might listen that you meet. I don't know, will any of them? I mean, I'm despairing at this stage. But it's all we've got at this stage is our petition, because we are pretty tired. If I could just ask any of you, I mean, I know, and we don't need to demonstrate the information or the evidence of the huge support we have, but as I say, 1.5 hour standing with us at that tent at this busy time of year when we owe so much to our families who have sacrificed so much for us. No family dinners, no sitting on the couch, no watching Christmas movies. We're down at that tent, and we need, you know, even in the week that's coming up, so that we can give back a little bit to our families. You know, it would be great if anyone would join us for coffee or anything there, because we are not leaving. We are not leaving. And you know, as I said, I've said several times as well, I mean, I'm not even going to mention the R word. We have people from all nationalities at the tent. I live with, I rent my rooms, I work with every day. I travel all around the world. I have friends all around the world. It is ridiculous, and it's a slur, and it's reduced this debate, this very serious, sensitive, complex debate, to black and white, left and right, wrong and right, and it is not. It's nuanced, it's complex, and it is very troubling for all of us. We don't, you know, no one is happy that we've been put in this situation. But now I feel we have to stop this, because it is a symbol of what's happening in the country. And I'm sorry for the people that will have to go elsewhere, and I'm sorry if they're going to be dumped in on someone else's community, but the only way of avoiding it is for every other community to do what we are doing, because it seems like there is no other way of getting your voice heard except standing out there and town square like this, back to basics. No more slandering and rubbish throwing online. We've got to get out in the rain and stand in the street and make our voices heard, because it seems that there is no other way of getting them heard. And it's a scary time, and I want to finish on the voices heard bit, because we couldn't possibly maybe even be doing this if that hate speech law comes in. I mean, we have to be, this is a huge threat to our democracy. The whole world is looking at us. And the whole world, journalists all over the world, we're like a test case here. We seem to be dummies for so many of these policies. Let's throw them out on the old Irish. Let's see how the old Irish handle these policies. And if we can pass it up by those numpties, we'll get it by anyone. Well, I think we have to say enough of that shit now. So, the hate speech law, everyone, get your beacons out and your antenna out and watch out for that one. Because if that comes in, we may not even, possibly, should the guards told me that the say no to 56 unvetted males was potentially hateful. I mean, what word in that is hateful? It's factual. We have evidence to demonstrate the fact that 60% of the people coming into the country are undocumented. One of the guards, we've had a lot of conversations, very civil, very nice, and they have been very supportive, and they told us they support 100% our right to peaceful protest. But they did say to me, we cannot assure you that they are criminals going into your house there, but neither can we assure you that they're not. And that is from the Gardaí's own words, own voice. So anyone who says that we're scaremongering about the potential danger these people might pose to our community has their head in the sand. They're just ignoring the evidence, the nose on their very faces. And I was going to read out the letter that the 5 councillors signed, that we're going to also give a signed copy of it, but I don't think there's any point. You all know the reasons why. I think it's very obvious that why we're all here. We all know the reasons why we have grave concerns about Abbeyville being used to house 56 men. I would love, and I don't know if any of my beautiful colleagues, one last thing I want to say, and I know what it is. We were losing our community. Community families are being eroded. I don't know what's going on. The internet, is it globalization? I don't know what it is. But we have found our community in that tent. Yep. I'll be honest with you, I've worked at Fermoy I've been here since 1995, and we've lived in that house for 20 years. And my husband's from Dublin. I don't know, did you make it, Connor? We've children still to drop to things. You know, found it hard to settle here, whatever, and always has wanted to leave. But it's only in the past few months that we found one, you know, we have great friends in Fermoy, don't get me wrong, but we never knew all the people, all the layers of people, all the wonderful people that have been coming to that tent, and the sad stories that we've heard in that tent. And now we have such a sense of community. I don't want to lose it, and I don't want to have to sell my house and move away. And you might say you're being melodramatic. I'm not, because I'm sorry, I'm not living there with 2 teenage daughters with 56 men down the road. And as I've said many times, where's my beeping from? Sorry. As I've said many times, and this is the last time I'll say it, and some of you will have heard me say it many times, 56 Irish men in there is going to be a problem. 56 monks in there. 56, and you don't pile in people to those conditions, especially young men, as which we know are the most people we're getting in. You don't pile them in on top of each other into those conditions and think it's all going to be Pollyanna land, because it just bloody well isn't. And you're living in dream world if you think it is. And I will not be putting my children at risk by staying there if they come. So that is why I'm here. That is why 7 weeks on, to the night almost, we are here and we're not going anywhere. And thank you all so much for coming. It means so much. It means so much. It means a lot. If any of my fabulous friends want to come and say anything, it's kind of a bit lonely here. If you'd like to say any words, thank you.
Well done, Laura. Thank you. Yeah, so now I'd like to open up the meeting tonight to the floor. I have tried and I have emailed TDs and councillors who would be maybe have an opinion that would be maybe in agreement with current government policy on immigration and in agreement with what's happening in Abbeyville House. And I know this meeting tonight is about immigration, but for me it's about an even more important issue, and that's about debate, mature debate, dialogue, being able to have a disagreement and not agree with everybody on everything and still be able to remain friends. So I would ask if there's anybody out there who might be in agreement or coming maybe from a different angle on this issue regards immigration policy and regards Abbeyville House across the road, maybe to come up and to say a few words. Yeah, do you want to come up, Frank? Yeah. So as well, we'll just keep it short now this time, just 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, politics. Yeah, what politics means is poly means Mattie, and a tick is a parasite, and we've a lot of parasites in the Dáil. They have failed us. The political system, the party political system, only for a few independents. Only for a few independents that we wouldn't even know about this is going on, and even our own guys. So one of those was going around over a year ago looking for a place to put up fake UGs. Okay, one of our own county councillors, he probably signed that thing as well. They run with the hare and chase with the hound. We need to get independent people elected the next time. Yeah, put it into perspective. When Eisenhower invaded in Europe in World War II, Normandy, he had 150,000 troops, 150,000 soldiers. Okay. Put that into perspective. That was the invasion of Europe. We had 125,000 invaded this year, okay? There was 72 or 75 last year. That's 200,000 people are after invading our shores, okay? In the last 2 years, okay? Which is more than Eisenhower had invading, okay? This is disgraceful. Our health system cannot stand this. We cannot afford this, okay? People who have paid in to have a health system and everything, we're giving it away to people that we owe absolutely nothing to. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Frank. I suppose just to give a little bit of counter, I'm trying to chair this, so I'm trying to keep it neutral as possible, but there are genuine people coming into this country who are fleeing from really, really desperate situations, and we have to be considerate of that as well. And not every asylum seeker that comes into this country or every refugee is a fraud or a fake. No, we know there are frauds and we know there are fakes, but there are many who are actually really fleeing from desperate situations, and we've got to keep that in mind as well. And I suppose ultimately, in my opinion, it is the government of Ireland that has created this problem. It is the government of Ireland that has created this issue, and it is the so-called opposition parties' lack of opposition that has created this problem and this issue. And I would urge people to take your anger out on those people not immigrants to the country. Yeah. Yeah. And Frank is right, this is coming from European Union as well. Yeah.
Destroy nationalism and to destroy Christianity in this country. This is it.
Thanks, Frank. So, yeah. So, as well, could we get your name as well before you speak as well? So, Martin Cassidy, is it? And you're here for my man, is it?
How are you all, lads? I just live up the road from Laura. I'd be one of Laura's friends. And my opinion on this, I said it the first time when we were talking about staying over below in the tent, is that the way I look at this is for me, state-sponsored people trafficking. We're bringing people in, there's big businesses bringing people in, they're setting people up. Like, I could ask 4 lads here to move into my bedroom with me if they want, and I'll charge you €110 a night, and we'll see how long we get on, or how far we can go before we have an argument and before that spills out onto the street. This is big business making money off of people's desperation, sponsored by the taxpayer, but it's the government are getting money from this, from businesses making money off other people's misery. And that's all it is. It's state-sponsored people trafficking into communities and destroying them. Because are we going to have the scenario where she was only down Barnan for a walk, he was only out for a run? Is this going to happen in Fermoy? I don't want it, and that's the genuine fear. Nobody here is a racist. To be a racist, you have to look at someone and see who they are. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're coming from. All we're afraid of is that people like us who are willing to stand out in the rain will be decimated, driven away, like Laura alluded to there, and communities broken up. And I don't want to see that. I'm in Fermoy since '85. And it's a lovely town, great people, and the days of leaving your front door open are coming to an end, I think. And it's sad.
Thanks very much, Martin. Next up, do you want to say a few words?
Thanks, Christy from Dungarvan. Privileged to be here tonight. It does my heart good to see a crowd out here in the rain. As I said already tonight, the very fact that we're standing in the rain as citizens of Ireland, of good people of Ireland, and we're forced to stand out in the rain in our own town, our own country, it's disgraceful. But this is where we're at. This is where our government has put us. It is a very serious situation, and it's time for other people in this country to wake up. In 1968, a short time ago, in our own country, the Catholic and nationalist population of Northern Ireland were burnt out, kicked out, shot out of their homes in Northern Ireland. They didn't go to Ukraine or England or anywhere else where the camp was over the border at the time. That's only in 1968, when our fellow Irishmen and women and children were burnt and kicked out of their houses in Northern Ireland. I watched the discussion last week. I have a great time for this man here, Mattie McGrath. Wonderful man, and people like him, very few of them in the Dáil. It takes a lot of courage to win that Dáil airing every day. You're trying to get points of view across, telling the truth. The hatred and bitterness I seen last week from Paul Murphy, and especially that guy, he actually surprised me, Adon or Reardon. The hatred and vitriol that came from those people's mouths last week against Mattie McGrath and other lads on the Roller Lines was despicable. It was despicable and hateful. It was unbelievable for me to look at that and see the pure hatred that those TDs or elected people had against their fellow TDs in the Dáil who just wanted a debate. They don't want any debate. They're sold out. Our country is sold out. We all know what's going on, lads. We don't have to go into it. Our government are under the cosh of the European Union. The European Union are under the cosh of the globalists, okay? Right? We haven't got a government or people like the men and the women who died for Ireland who simply will say, no, no, we're not taking your money no more, we're taking care of our own people. We haven't got those people, and that's the danger. And I finish on this to the people up in the tent. We all know each other for the last 3 or 4 years, and we're all fighting the battles in different ways in our own little areas. We have a similar situation starting up in Dungarvan. We're investigating it at the moment. okay? But the set tonight by a speaker early on, we have a small little community group going there outside on Garvan. We took a lease on the building. We'll have wonderful times. We'll have people down in the new year giving public speaking, debates like this, indoors and around the place. We had a visit recently from a member of the Waterford City and County Council Environment section. And he wanted to know, with a sign up the road, advertising weekly markets. And he wanted to know, had we a permit or license for it. And here we are, we're bringing people all over this country, from every country in the world. A lot of them haven't got a passport, a driving license, okay? They didn't go to any local labour exchange to sign on like we must do. They needn't do it. There's a crowd running to Dungarvan recently, and a man here in the audience have a photograph, and there's a row of spanking new bicycles, ready for those people. In Ireland, I'm finishing this, in Ireland today, we, the Irish people, are being the ones who have been discriminated against. And I finish on this, and the last thing said already by that lady there early on, the last straw of the dice, with one chance left and one only. If this hate speech legislation is brought in, we are then a full-blown communist country. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Christy. Yeah, 2 seconds there. Yeah, no, again, I'd be hoping that there'd be someone that would maybe come up here and with an opinion that might be might be in agreement with Abbeyville House. And I just want to put out a quote. If somebody does come up here with an opinion that counter to our opinion, will we give that person respect? Yes. So, Ted, would you like to say a few? Yeah. So, Ted Moyer's here.
Yeah. A couple of the previous speakers have alluded to it, and my view is that, I don't know if you realise that in the last census in Ireland, it was reported there's 166,000 vacant residential properties in Ireland, and the government have sat on that. We've got, as alluded to as well, over 12,000 people living in emergency accommodation, 4,000 children living with their families in hotel rooms, which is utterly shocking. Now the government have got the opportunity to compulsory purchase these residencies and bring them into to rent them out as for working people, for people on low income. And I think that would be part of the. I think part of the problem is that we're looking over, like my daughter's been on the housing list for 10 years and can't get a house, and then we see other people moving into the country and moving into houses, and it creates a lot of difficulty. It creates a lot of animosity. And I think that if the government had a decent housing policy to accommodate people, I think that would help.
Thanks very much, Ted. Derek, do you want to say a few words? Yeah.
I'm going to put it in there.
Derek, right.
I don't know, lads. I have a few words written down here on the thing. My name is Derek Blighe. I'm a local man. I'm firstly a father, and I'm an activist, and I've been fairly busy here for the last couple of years, highlighting what I see are injustices. First of all, I'd like to thank the organisers for allowing me to speak tonight. I'd also like to thank the good people of Fermoy and surrounding areas for standing, sitting and sleeping with me inside in that tent for the last 29 days in the cold, the wind, the rain, the frost. I don't see too many of the so-called tolerant and inclusive ones who slander us online and drive past and scream out the window at us on a sometimes daily basis, but we'll carry on without them. Many of us know that the stories we've been told about the different conflicts around the world are either false or exaggerated. And a very high number of the so-called refugees we're taking into this country are illegitimate. They're coming from parts of the world where there is no war happening, or they're coming without documentation or with forged documentation. What we're actually getting are economic migrants who are here for welfare and housing. The government and most of the TDs will have you believe that when Irish people emigrated around the world, that this is the same as what's happening now in Ireland. It's not. The Irish never put their hands out, nor would they have gotten anything for free. You worked or you starved. And that's why I've had no problem speaking out against the barrage of hatred and threats against myself and my family from the beginning. Because I've seen the amounts of lies and exaggerations that have been told. And if I, a bricklayer, could see what was going on back then surely our elected officials saw it too, but chose not to speak out at the time, probably for fear of being called a racist or far right. We need to ask ourselves this: if the people we elect to represent us are afraid to speak up about the obvious injustices for fear of bullying, are these really the people we want representing us going forward?
No. Ouch.
People that had no problem speaking up about the injustice of a 2-year COVID lockdown all of a sudden are paralysed with fear to speak out against the topic of immigration, even when they knew what was happening was completely wrong. What happens when the next bunch of lies and exaggerations are told? Will they keep quiet then also until it becomes popular enough to speak out? Meanwhile, irreversible damage is being done to this country. My position is now, and has been from the beginning, that anybody that came to this country, and not just in recent times, but ever, and broke the law or lied to get in, needs to be put on a plane and deported and banned for life. This may involve tens of thousands of deportations. If so, so be it. Our borders need to be secure going forward, but also looking back. Taking the position that those that are here now should be allowed to stay is simply not good enough. They came here illegally, they need to leave. I know that most common sense Irish people would agree. But unfortunately, this is the popular opinion. Politicians or political hopefuls won't take that stance for fear of name calling. And anything other than that is nothing more than political theatre. I think it's time for our politicians who have been given a mandate by the people of Ireland need to man up and get some balls. Because cowardice is what got us here. And courage and truth is what's going to get us out. Thank you very much. And can I also just have one more point to make just on the rules that were made here tonight, and I'm a fan of rules, but even bending around the word racism. I've been called a racist for speaking up for the last 2 years, and numerous politicians and people at the forefront of our communities are now saying what I was saying 2 years ago and aren't racist. So racism is judging someone based on the colour of their skin, and I haven't heard one bit of racism up in that tent, and I hear very, very little racism around this country. So thank you all very much for coming here tonight.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah, I suppose we have to make these rules because every meeting has to have rules, and the reality is there are people on extremes in both sides. The vast majority of the people are ordinary, decent, concerned citizens of Ireland, but the reality is there are extremists on both sides, and there are, and I'm saying these are the vast minority of people, there are racists on the far right as well here, and they're the vast minority. So that's why we have to put these rules in place. We have to protect ourselves here as well, because there's others on the other extreme would try and say and paint us and tarnish us all with the one brush, when the reality of the situation is the vast majority of people at this meeting, in this town and in this country, are ordinary, decent citizens of Ireland who want a better Ireland for their children and for their grandchildren. And we cannot let the media and those who would wish to paint us all with the same brush succeed in doing that. So that's why we have to put these rules in place. We have to protect ourselves. This man here, would you like to say a few words? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, so each one teach one. Yeah, my name is Michael McCarthy. I come from Lismore in West Waterford. My family on my father's side was from Cork. My father left Cork when he was 5. So, like, I was born in the diaspora, like most Irish people. But I came back. But it's my journey between, being born in England and has taken me all over the world. And so a lot of my activism is kind of reaching out to the Irish Guards and to the Irish Defence Force. Because I used to wear a uniform as well, so I'm a combat veteran myself, so I have a soft spot for those in uniform, because they are following orders, and there's morale is very low in those very essential institutions in our nation, the Defence Force and the police, because they're seeing, they're reading important information, they're looking at websites, they're seeing, and they have children too, so they see that what's being engineered is a society that puts their own children at risk, and they have to be, they're kind of the strong arm of the power behind them that have to carry out this agenda. So so for the last 7 years I've been chatting with some of them, retired and serving in our most elite forces, and in the Guards as well. But so I give them 3 websites, so we should go away from this learning something. So unz.com is Ron Unn's living in Palo Alto. I used to live in California, in Palo Alto, and Ron was living on the same street as me. He's a Jewish guy from California. unz.com is maybe the best website for genuine investigative journalism, and you learn a lot from the comments there as well. And then the other site I give the Guards and the Defence Force are henrymakow.com, who's a Jewish guy from Canada. Henry, M-A-K-O-W, Makow.com. Very good, wonderful man. I've been in touch with him for over 20 years. Very essential website. Veterans Today, which is a lot from the intelligence community. That's very good. That's Gordon Duff. Veteranstoday.com is also very useful. I don't agree with everything on these sites, but I think you see genuine journalism going on. And I'm ex-military. I was in the British Army, like a lot of Irishmen, but then I went on and I spent 15 years as a war photographer, so I covered a lot of wars in Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, Eastern Africa, and then I went to America, and then I was a commercial pilot on the day of 9/11, living in Mountain View in California. And so on that day, as a pilot, I knew that the official story was a hoax. I mean, it's the greatest hoax of the 21st century, and so this led me to working for a US congressman. So politics, sadly, is tragic theatre, and what the political class, their primary purpose is to really shepherd in this Fabian socialist agenda, which has been planned for over 150 years. It goes back to 1884. So what Ireland is going through right now is just Fabian socialism. And so you have to understand that what they do is they're creating through immigration a strategy of tension. And that is very, very important. Once you understand Fabian socialism, you'll understand why they've infiltrated the media, the academy, and the political class. And all they do is they, using the process of biological Leninism, which you must study as well, that's how they get these mediocre people to occupy the commanding heights of these institutions, and then they carry out the agenda. So we mustn't get distracted, and Fabian socialism is just a tool of the international money power. So you have to understand the international money power, the central banking cartel, Fabian socialism. That's why you have this problem. So don't get distracted. Stay on point.
Thank you.
Well done, Michael.
Thanks. So we're going to wrap it up here pretty soon. Is there anybody else who would like to say a few words or to ask a few questions?
Peter, if I could have a few words, that's all right.
Yeah, whoever. I can't see there. Yeah. Yeah, come forward. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Peter. Thanks for this. How's it going, everyone? I suppose just to bring it back on track, this was a meeting about immigration, and I think it's a bit of an insult to everyone here for coming here if you don't talk about that. People in Ireland are definitely awake. We're already there. We're going to keep talking about what's happening, who's doing it. It's time we start getting up and physically mobile, not sitting on our couches anymore. Like what you done today has to happen in every town and village. But one of the most disturbing aspects of this is the housing market and the housing stock, as they call it. The government calls it housing stock at the minute, which basically insinuates that you're cattle. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm not going to say where the country came from. We said we wouldn't identify nationalities, etc. But a gentleman landed into Ireland. Sharon Keoghan exposed this in the Shannon, and drove down the motorway from Belfast and received keys on the same day to a brand new 3-bedroom apartment. The person is not from this country. They stepped over not just the housing list with existing immigrants who are here for the long haul for good reasons. They jumped over not just the direct provision system. They jumped over absolutely everyone, even the house buyers. Think about people who have the money just to buy a house casually. They jumped over them and were given this property. Nobody got to see this property until this person got the keys. Why did they get the keys? Because they weren't Irish. That's the criteria. They didn't look like you or me. That's what it is. This government is obsessed about people who aren't us. So they call us xenophobes. It's them that is the xenophiles. Yeah! This is xenophilia. This is a sickness. It's sick and it's in our doll. And you can see it when Leo Varadkar says it. He says it's too white. This is too white. Too many white people here. Too many. When he says Irish, he means white. When he says white, he means Irish, by the way. He copied nearly word for word the Scottish Prime Minister's sentiments. You probably all are familiar with that video too. Lots of foreign national Prime Ministers are being put into places of power by the WEF, and they're antagonising and provoking natives of every country, including people that don't look like you or follow the same God you do. It's every single country the natives are being antagonised and provoked. We can't talk about it until it's in the rain, and when that happens, places go on fire, as we've seen. Bring us back to the debate stage, let us into the hotels, the fires will probably stop. I don't know, that's just a guess. Would ye say that? Would ye say that? Yeah. So that's what we're asking for today. That's what I'm going to ask for today. Stop this bullshit of fucking making us out to be fucking criminals. We're not criminals. If we want to come inside and talk in a hotel about something publicly and attach our names and our faces to it, we couldn't be criminals if we tried to, because we live in a free country. We have free speech and we must fight for that as well. One last thing I'll say, lads, on this is the ESG scoring system comes from the WEF. That's now being applied to our housing market, as I've just described. If you're diverse, if you have something different than what the Irish people can bring to the table, you're boosted up. And the people that do that, the systems that do that, the councils that do that get rated higher. And the people that do that to us get jobs in Europe. And that's why the pyramid scheme of Europe must be smashed to bits. Because why would you do anything for your country if the highest job you can get is outside of your country, in a supranational institution? Leo Varadkar is only middle management right now in the system we're in. We want a country where the top man is the top man and he can pull the rug out from under any scoundrel at a heart's notice, at a minute's notice. Michael D. Higgins won't do that. Leo Varadkar won't do that. But there is a man here tonight I think is Taoiseach material, and it's Mattie McGrath. He's still there. Now, how does Mattie McGrath become Taoiseach? It's by the councillor that's sitting beside him, leaving Fianna Fáil and joining his new party. That's how that happens. And I'm telling you now, the microphone is here if you want to make that public. If you want to come up here and fucking say Fianna Fáil in the bin. Yeah! And who knows, that might be a domino effect you could kick off. You should do it, and I'm calling on you to do it. Yeah, well, every single one of these parties, about a third of them is ready to do it. They're ready to do it, Mattie, and you know that. I know for a fact half of the Shinners are ready to do it. Mary Lou put on a World Economic Forum badge, an SDG badge, and the boys in Belfast weren't happy. They said she traded in the Easter Lily for the World Economic Forum badge. And then they said that this was a globalist plantation. There's nobody more far left than the boys that said that. Don't get into the politics. Politics is not the answer. It's not the solution to this. It's anti-political, what we're doing. So Helen McEntee even described it herself. I'll leave it at this. What has far-right Sharon Cogan said? And she went blank and she said, anti-government. I am fucking far right then, Helen. I am anti-you. Whatever you are, I am that. I am that. And you can call it anything you want in any language. That's it. Thank you.
That's Helen here. One last speaker here. Helen, a neighbouring Mitchelstown lady.
Well, I must say, Peter, well done for organising this. Well done. I mean, what a massive crowd that's actually out here. Fair play to Mattie McGrath. He really spoke, our patrons did die for Ireland. One thing I have to say, I did stand for Sinn Féin in the last local election. I stood up for the people. We had homelessness in Mitchelstown, and I stood up for them. I stood up for the Irish people. I got suspended from Sinn Féin for doing that. So I want you to know that the next time they come knocking on your doors. And the other thing I say, there's nothing better than people power. People power is the best thing anybody can ever have, and that's our own voice. And I mean, we are all standing here today, but what we all need to do is, we all need to march in every town, on every street, because the time we did march for the water rights that time, we won the water rights. People's power is everything. And if you go out there and march for rights, that's it, you'll win. So remember, next year, when they come knocking on your door, remember, it's the independents, because the independents can give you your voice. It's all about you, what you want, okay? When you vote for a party, remember one thing. In the party, they have to go by their policies. They do their policies. It's not your policy, it's their policy. So remember that next year when it comes to the local elections.
Come on, Helen. Mattie has just asked me to clarify there during the motion in the Dáil on immigration on the 6th that it was TD Michael McNamara who voted in line with him as well. He just wanted to clarify that. So we're going to wrap it up here, but lads, you want to say a few quick words, Lee? Yeah.
How we doing, folks? My name is Des. I was born and reared in Fermoy, outside it my whole life. I'm only 20 years old. Just to give you a quick eye-opener, there's no work or housing even for someone like me to go. I had to go to Spain to try settle down a bit of a life for myself. And when I saw this arise, I actually moved back, because I feel like we do have a fighting chance. Up at that tent there, there's people from 18 to 65, 70 sleeping out in the cold, -5, -6 temperatures. And lads, if we can't do it, if we can't come out in numbers, then politicians aren't going to see anything. No one in the Dáil is going to look. So all I can say is, no, numbers is everything. And for me, the reason I'm fighting is I'd like a future. So what I like for my kids when they come. So just thanks everyone for coming out, and we look into the future, yeah?
Thanks, Lizzie. Oh, my own brother Patrick here wants to say a few words.
I only say a small thing. I just wanted one thing to say. I'm kind of curious, basically, is why are we never, our government, not asking for peace in these wars? That would be the best way. They're going along telling everybody they're terrible people for being worried about immigration and this and that. But the worst, then they're activating, pro-war, pro-NATO, instead of, if you went negotiating peace. That's what Ireland was known for being a country that went around the world and tried to bring peace. We were the scholars of the world, Ireland, the scholars. Why don't we push for peace more often? And when you have peace in these countries, then people don't leave those countries. I just don't understand that. That's all I wanted to say.
Patrick. Yeah. We've one more, have we?
It's great to see such a massive crowd here, and it's great to see. My name's Tomas McCormick, and it's great to see that this protest is taking place here. I've been probably raising the immigration question for the past 25 years. It didn't begin in the last couple of years, it didn't begin since COVID. And what we've noticed from immigration since the very, very start of it is Ireland has gotten poorer. We've had more homelessness, we've more children sleeping homeless, we've bigger waiting lists in hospitals, we've poor education standards. So the real question we must ask every politician is, what benefit is immigration to Ireland? It's certainly not providing more homes. The number of builders has gone dramatically down. We cannot at the moment build enough houses for our own population, not to mind all the people coming into this country. Our hospital services, our medical services have not improved. Waiting lists have just grown and grown and grown and grown. So it's definitely not making us a healthier nation. Go into the schools and you will find a lot of people are having trouble learning because a teacher can't teach in several languages, or can people who don't understand the basic languages. And it comes back into the very, very question of what the men fought for in the independence of this country. They fought for a Gaelic Ireland, and they fought that we would have a nation of our own, and a distinct nation. We're not English, we're not German, we're not African, we're not Chinese. We are working towards an Irish nation, and that Irish nation is distinct. It has its own Irish culture, it has heritage, it has music, it has sports, and it has Irish people. A person arriving here just because they take a job with Amazon or with another multinational, they are not Irish. It's something that you inherit over generations, and it's something that you can adopt. But they have reduced Irishness to something that is just sold to anyone who can get citizenship here after a year. So one thing we must do is we have to tell people we are Irish and we want to protect our nation, like every nation across the world wants to protect their national identity. So as we said, the immigration question goes far beyond it, because it goes to the very, very ethos of what Ireland is. And do we want to be a nation amongst the nation of the world? Are we just going to be colonised by England, by Germany, by Africa, by China, and colonised by the World Economic Forum and by the European Union? I think Sean Kelly recently said, the MEP said, that 70% of Irish or laws in this country at the moment are directives from the EU. So what did the men of 1916 fight for? What did the men in the War of Independence fight for? What did Liam Lynch and McCarthy and all our great heroes fight for if they were not fighting for an independent Ireland, and an Ireland run by the democratic wishes of the Irish people, not the German people, not the French people, not the English people, or not the Economic Forum or the other countries of the world. So yeah, we have to have the immigration debate, and we have to close our borders. It's that simple.
Thanks, Tomas. Yeah, I'd agree with what you said there, Tomas, but I suppose we're trying to give balance as well. And Tomas said that Irishness it comes over generations, in my opinion, if you're born in Ireland, you're Irish. It doesn't matter what race, religion, colour or creed you are, you're Irish. That's my opinion. And I'm entitled, you're entitled to your opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion. Okay. So that's what we're here for. Ultimately, we're here today to talk about immigration, and more importantly, about democracy. And a fundamental pillar of democracy is freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, and freedom of debate. And that's why we are here today, because our own elected political representatives in Dáil Éireann will not debate the issues and the concerns of the people of Ireland. And if they're not doing that, they're not implementing democracy. And democracy means people power. And what we're doing today is we're implementing people power. We're implementing democracy. And to the government and to our elected political representatives, we're going to tell you, the people of Fermoy, if you won't bring the issues of Fermoy to the Parliament of our nation, we will bypass that. We will speak about these issues in our own towns, in our own villages, in our own cities, and we will implement democracy in our own local communities. And I would ask the people all around Ireland in their own local communities, if you feel the same, that your elected political representatives are not representing you, you speak about these issues yourselves amongst your own local communities. And in the long term, to our elected political representatives, if you're not representing us anymore, we the people will be giving you the P45 the next and nearest opportunity we get. So thank you everyone. And I just want to again say thank you so much for coming here this evening. It's a wet, dark, miserable evening. And especially thanks so much to our political representatives here. TD Mattie McGrath, give me a huge round of applause everyone. Councillor Frank Roche, give me a huge round of applause everyone. And Councillor William O Leary. And again, thank you all again for coming. All the best, Slán.